What's up guys, it's Crumbs here and I hope everyone's doing fantastic. Today's video is actually going to be the part 2 of the tips and tricks videos for Wesker. If you have not watched the first one, it will be up in the top right corner of the screen if you want to go check that out. But as far as for this video, we are going to be covering 5 main topics. We're going to be covering the difference between throwing and slamming survivors. We're also going to be covering the key details of the infection that Wesker leaves on survivors when he hits them with their power. Next, we're going to be talking about hook collaterals, which is something that's niche but super useful in the right situation. For number 4, we're going to be talking about grabbing with Wesker's power, as I believe that this is something that's not very known on either the survivor or the killer side. And finally, for number 5, we're going to be going over the event powers, such as killers being able to destroy pallets. Now with all that being said, I figure let's get right into it, and I hope you all enjoy. Now just a little rundown on how Wesker's power works. Once Wesker comes into contact with a survivor, he will grab that survivor and carry them a certain amount of distance depending on your add-ons. If he comes into contact with a wall before reaching his maximum distance, he will slam that survivor. Or if Wesker does not come into contact with a wall before reaching his maximum distance, he will stop and throw that survivor a short distance. If the survivor hits any object before landing, the survivor will take a held state. If the survivor does not hit any object before landing on the ground, they will simply get thrown a short distance, land on the ground, and can get right back up. Now when it comes to throwing a survivor, Wesker is allowed to gain way more distance on that survivor before they are out of the throwing animation, and this often leads to a shorter chase time. I can demonstrate this with a video on screen right now, and I will also demonstrate this slam shortly after. What the fuck? Is this lag today? What? As you can see from the slam, Wesker is standing completely still when the survivor receives their sprint burst from getting injured. And this is totally different than the throwing animation, where Wesker is fully able to move before the survivor even hits an object. This is why, in most cases, throwing a survivor is always better than slamming a survivor, as it leads to much shorter chases, or even insta-downs in some cases. There are 2 main points that I would like to talk about when it comes to Wesker's infection. Now I know that in-game there's even a tooltip for what I'm about to say, but a lot of people still don't know that for every infected survivor Wesker has, his cooldown to the charges of his power is reduced by 0.5 seconds. So if all 4 survivors are infected, that is 2 less seconds that he has to wait for each charge. Now I know for me personally, knowing this changed the whole way I play Wesker in terms of splitting pressure in between survivors so that my power could be a lot more useful in chase. And I thought that that's definitely important enough to mention in this, because even half a second less cooldown to your power can mean the difference between a survivor making a pallet or getting hit. The next point I wanted to talk about when it comes to Wesker's infection is how much slowdown it truly gives you in itself. I see a lot of players running save the best for last, for example, on Wesker, and I feel like this is not a good idea at all, because I feel like you should always be prioritizing M2 hit, as they give you a lot more pressure around the map. A survivor getting hit with your power takes a lot more time for them to reset than if you just hit them with an M1, especially if they don't already have a spray in their hand, which in some cases can be true even with the new update where sprays can be held along with items. A lot of people underestimate truly how much power you get out of simply getting an M2 hit versus an M1 hit, and a lot more people should be taking note of that. Now the third tip is going to be a little bit more niche, but this is something that I learned at around 2 months in, and I've used it in every chance I've gotten, as it's quite insane for getting a lot of pressure for completely free. Now if you guys don't know, when a survivor is unhooking another survivor and you dash into them with your power, it slaps them, applying infection and an injured state, but it does not cancel the unhook animation no matter how early you did it. So what you should do instead is you should wait until the survivor is just out of the unhooking animation, and if you time this perfectly, you should be able to hit that survivor and it should count as a collat when you slam them into the hook survivor, which will give you an injured state and an infection on the survivor unhooking, while also giving you more pressure on the survivor that's been unhooked, because they will be put into the mending stage. Now this tip is very niche, but I think that with how much I use it, I definitely thought it's worth a mention. For number 4, we're going to be covering when you can grab during your power cooldown. So if you guys aren't aware, as I've seen a lot of people not be, during the cooldown in between your first and second dash, when you're putting your tentacle away, you can actually grab and interrupt survivors in this state. This can be done just like any normal grab on gens, windows, lockers, on hooks, anything like that. However, this cannot be used when you've used both dashes. That cooldown you cannot grab on. It's only when you have one dash remaining and you cancel in between the first and second. A lot of survivors don't know this, so I suggest you guys take advantage of it before they learn it, because this gives me a lot of value in my games. Now the 5th one I decided to throw in here as the event is still kind of new, and when you guys are watching this video, you can definitely still apply it in your games. Now of course, if you're watching this video and the anniversary event has already passed, you can totally skip by this part because it literally does not matter. But if you guys don't know, when you press Q to break a pallet with the event charge, this actually prevents the survivor from running through the pallet, and it also disables that survivor from vaulting the pallet. So if you time it right, when a survivor is getting ready to vault, you can actually get a super free hit, as the survivor usually has no idea what's going on. But with that being said, that's going to be all the tips for this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you guys want any more tips and tricks, or if you have anything specific you want me to talk about, just let me know. I do hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.